We have a jam-packed and colorful week full of planetary transits. We have a lot going on this week, especially with the total lunar eclipse we have in Taurus, which of course I will make a separate podcast and video for, as I always do. We have a bunch of sun transits going on this week, which will help us work on healthy confidence and finding ways to balance our ego. Mercury's also going to be very active this week, and it's going to result in a lot of communication issues, things not going according to plan, and having to really work things out in terms of misunderstandings. And we have a lot of Venus alignments going on this week. Venus will be making a majority of the transits, causing us to focus on our romantic lives, finances, career situations, and self-worth. And just looking at the vibes on the graph, there is so much going on throughout this week. We have a repeated theme going on with solitude energy this week. We'll get our first spike around the 7th, closer to when we're having that total lunar eclipse. And with the energies going on at that lunar eclipse, they're pretty heavy, so there may be a need to stay to yourself. Then we're having another hit of it from the 9th all the way up until about the 11th. That's going to be when it reaches its peak. It reaches its peak around the 11th and then tapers down as we start getting closer to the 12th. So this could be a big period for introspection, needing space to yourself, needing time to be with your thoughts, and coming down from feeling edgy, because we also have emotional sensitivity going on throughout this week. That starts on the 7th as well. It is intersecting solitude and some mental energy, so again, we will be in our heads. And we have another peak of it around the 9th all the way up until the 11th, and then we have more of it coming up on the 12th to the 13th. So this week is going to feel particularly triggery, especially with some of the alignments we have going on. This week is a mixed bag, and it's just overall kind of heavy, so things might feel more edgier than normal. Romantic energy will also be one of the big energies throughout this week. From the 7th, we have a little bit of it mixed in with all those harder energies, but we also have it on the 9th going all the way up until about the 12th, and then it picks back up from the 12th to the 13th. Relationship stuff will be at the forefront. There's definitely some smooth moments, there's definitely some flirty moments, and some really romantic moments coming up throughout this week. So that'll be helpful, and it'll bring a nice tone to certain situations, especially if you're coming down from some of the stress. And from the 11th all the way up until the 13th, we have a big mix of energies. We have mental energy, we have imagination and confusion, we have more of that emotional sensitivity, we have romance, we have psychic energy, we have ambitious energy, and we have a smidge of good luck energy. So this weekend is going to be varying in terms of the way your moods are feeling. One moment you could be feeling good, the next minute you could be feeling confused, the next minute you could be feeling social, the next minute you could be feeling on edge. It's quite a cluster of energies going on throughout the weekend, so it is definitely going to feel mixed in terms of the way we're feeling and our moods. So yeah, this will be a colorful week. Let's look at the next bunch of days and see what we can expect. As a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. There's a link in the description box below. Monday brings in a day of awkward communication thanks to an alignment with Mercury and Jupiter. Mercury's making a Sesquiquadrate with Jupiter, and this could be one of those moments where, interestingly, with this energy, things get ultra chatty even though we have that solitude energy. I mean, regardless of solitude energy, people are still going to interact, people are still going to try to communicate, even if you don't want to communicate at that very moment. And this could be what makes things so awkward, because this is one of those energies where people are a little bit pushy in communication, people insist on talking, people insist on over talking other people. Also, this energy has a tendency to cause situations where someone's saying more than they should. Maybe they're telling their private business, maybe they're telling someone else's business. I mean, we do have Mars retrograde in Gemini occurring while this alignment is going on, and Mercury and Jupiter harsh alignments, they have a tendency to bring out things communication wise that we don't necessarily want to hear. It's not in a plutonic way, it's just in an overbearing, too much information sort of way. So there could be a bunch of TMI going on that day, which is making you really want to stay to yourself and not deal with people. Or if anything else, just end the conversation because it's getting ultra awkward. On top of that, people have a tendency to stretch the truth in this energy as well. So, you know, there could be some exaggerations going on too, which is also leading to feeling aggravated and just wanting some space from people because you're just hearing a whole bunch of bullshit in the air. And with this alignment, please pay attention to the details. If you have something important that you have to work on, assignments, anything you have to turn in, documents, anything important that you have to sign contractually, make sure you're reading everything, because this is one of those alignments where we skim the details of things. So you just want to make sure you're not doing that. And again, Mars being retrograde in Gemini, we we may have this tendency to rush on things or do multiple things at once, and then it'll lead to mishaps. So do the best you can when this energy hits. It's a very awkward energy. I can't say it's the worst of the energies, but it just has an awkward tone to it. The 8th is going to feel like a concentrated day, considering we have that lunar eclipse in Taurus occurring, and we have 2 Mercury transits that aren't like the other. One is more constructive, and the other one could throw our plans off completely. Hopefully the alignment we have going on with Mercury and the Sun helps us along the way, because we'll definitely need it. The Sun's going to make a conjunction with Mercury, which is also known as a cazimi, which is a special conjunction where we have Mercury at the heart of the Sun. And what this does is it sharpens our alertness. So if you were feeling wonky from the other day when Mercury was making that sesquiquadrate with Jupiter, this is going to be the alignment that's going to help you get back up on your feet. It's a wonderful pick-me-up. It's like a power-up in the video game, like when you're running through levels in a game and you find that one boost that helps you run through shit. This is one of those types of alignments that gives you that nice lift, so that way you're able to get through things, you're able to understand things, it helps you be sharp as fuck. So any intellectual abilities needed that day will be very accessible. Generally with this one, it helps in terms of confident communication and being able to socialize with others. But with some of the weird varying social energies that are going on and that solitude energy, this can be a bit of a mixed bag, especially because Mercury's going to be making an opposition with Uranus on that day, which can result in communication not necessarily going the way you expected. So hopefully this conjunction that's going on with the Sun mitigates some of that, because with the Mercury opposed Uranus situation, it can almost feel like there's a plot twist to a situation. In other words, it seems like things are going one way and then they completely go a different direction. You're making plans and everything seems solid, and those plans unexpectedly get changed, or something gets pushed back, or communication wise the wrong thing gets blurted out, or somebody is blocked for whatever reason and somehow they're able to communicate with you out the blue. So it's unexpected contact from someone you may have thought that you'd never hear from. So this is where socializing can get weird. It could be edgy, it could be jittery, there could be a sense of anxiousness to communication on this day. And with all the heady energy that's going on with Mercury being involved over these last couple of days, this connection to Uranus could rev up our minds. And in a lot of ways, that's a good thing, because we have these breakthrough moments. And in a lot of ways, this energy is great for breakthrough moments. So that plot twist can end up being something that you finally have a breakthrough on, something that you felt like you couldn't get around, something that you felt like was stagnant and stuck. And so it works in your favor. At the same time, we could feel jittery in terms of our mind. Our minds can feel overactive. We can be easily overstimulated in this energy. So you're going to want to try to find ways to calm your energy. You're going to want to try to find ways to ground yourself the best way you can, because otherwise this could be quite a high octane energy, and then you have that cazimi going on, and so that's going to make things even more heightened. And of course, with the Sun being connected to Mercury, it's also going to hit that Uranus spot. The Sun's going to be making an opposition with Uranus as well. It doesn't take effect until the 9th, but because those energies are together, we're going to be feeling this for the next bunch of days, and we're going to be feeling that Sun energy connecting to Uranus in a very complex way. This also brings that changeable tone that I was speaking about, in terms of just things suddenly taking another turn. Things not necessarily going as planned. And with the Sun connected to this could have a lot to do with risky behavior. This could have a lot to do with shocking behavior. A lot of the times with this energy, people do shocking things to get an ego boost or to get a reaction out of others. When we have complex transits connected to the Sun, a lot of it deals with our ego. A lot of it deals with confidence. And sometimes it could be that lower vibrational confidence, or a need to boost your confidence in a lower vibrational way. And this brings that out. This pronounces that. This energy can also be very disruptive in a lot of ways. This energy has a tendency to cause a bit of upheaval. And even if it isn't the harsh things, it could be annoying things, like people taking things to the next level because they're bored. So a lot of excitement-seeking behavior will happen around this energy, which includes doing risky things just to get a thrill, which is something you want to be aware of, because, although having a little bit of fun and doing something out of the ordinary is fun, you just want to be careful with this energy, because there is a tendency to be very risky and impulsive. And so clumsiness can happen within this energy. And as a result, there could be some minor upsets, mishaps, accidents, and things like that. So you just want to be aware of that with this energy, because it can be gnarly and bring out our rebellious side, which is fun and nothing wrong with being a rebel, but at the same time, you just want to be careful with this because it is accident-prone energy at its finest. By the time we get to the 10th, Venus will make a trine with Neptune, which is nice because this brings that romantic tone to the air. We're going to start seeing more Venus transits coming up. Some of them are a mixed bag, but this one here is lovely. This creates a dreamy sort of tone to it. This creates a storybook romance sort of vibe to it. This also brings in a spiritual tone to love life situations. Even with some of the edge in the air, this may be a moment where you're having a sweet spot. This may be a moment where you're feeling open to like new romance if you are single, or if you have a person of interest or you're dating someone. This could rev things up. This could make things ultra romantic. This could result in just a very flirty exchange, or you guys just feeling like you're on the same wavelength, having intimate conversations with one another, and connecting on a deep soul level. For those in romantic unions, that same thing can happen with this. This has a tendency to rev up intimacy and connect in a very amorous way. The only thing with this transit is you do need to be aware of how you're spending money because it's a very loose and free transit where you feel good and so you want to do feel good things. And this can be one of those things where, some spending things happen, even though it's a harmonious alignment. Venus and Neptune coming together in this way can sometimes blur the lines on how much we're spending because we're enjoying ourselves so much. So that's just something to be aware of with this energy. Other than that, it's great for enjoying magical things. It's great for enjoying spiritual things, getting reconnected with your spirituality, doing something cultural, gallery hopping, or going to a poetry night. It just has that lovely tone to it. So soak this one up. As we get to the 11th, there's a harsher tone with the alignments. The Sun's going to make a square with Saturn, and Mars is going to make a quincunx with Venus. So we've got a retrograde alignment that's coming up throughout this day. The issue with the Sun and Saturn making a square is it can cause moments where you're wondering when something good's going to come up. You're wondering when you're going to have your moment in the Sun. You're getting through this transit and it feels difficult, and this is where more of that gloomy energy and that edgy shit was popping up on the graph in terms of wanting to be by yourself, in terms of wanting space, and in a lot of ways feeling kind of alone in some sort of way because this energy can sense of feeling left out. So you could have that feeling of being out in the cold. There could be moments throughout the day where you're dwelling on the past and you're looking at periods where you felt as though you might have been forgotten, or you're wondering when is it your turn to win? When is it your turn to start seeing the fruits of your labor? When is it your turn to start getting that recognition you deserve? And those things do come after this alignment. This is one of those alignments with the Sun and Saturn. When this comes up, those feelings of gloom and dread and feeling left out pop up a lot. However, with Saturn, if you've been doing the hard work, if you've been doing what you need to do in terms of being responsible, setting limits, setting boundaries with others, mastering your craft, and again, putting in that hard work and effort, Saturn has a way of rewarding you for those things. It may not be at this moment, but it does come later on. So all your hard work is not in vain, and you will have your moment where you actually do get a chance to shine. That same day, Venus is making a quincunx with Mars, and this could be one of those days where there's a little bit of drama in relationships. Some of the drama could be fun. Some of it can be intimate. Some of it can be passionate. There could be a lot of makeup sex within this energy. However, because it's a quincunx, it can reveal some of our blind spots in these situations. So we could see exactly where we might be bringing drama to ourselves in our love life situations. So this could be realizing our superficiality has caused us to date the wrong people. You might see where our overly flirty nature attracts the wrong people, even if we aren't interested in those people. There's something within our personality that kind of can't help ourselves, and we're really flirty, and so it's pulling different types of people in that we have no intentions with, and so that could be problematic as well. And this could bring up other intimacy issues in terms of bedroom style, in terms of not being the most faithful person, sexual addictions, and things like that. So topics like that can come up with this energy. It's a really awkward energy in itself, and because the retrograde is going on, this is going to circle back around. We will see this again around the 19th of December. There's a lot going on with Mars and Venus during this retrograde, so there's a lot of relationship themes that are coming up, and of course, naturally, Mars does deal with relationships as Venus. Venus does. So there's a lot of cleanup going on in relationships. I mean, there are some sweet spots around this retrograde in terms of some of the alignments, and then there are situations like this where it's just bringing to our attention the things that we need to fix so that we're no longer having that type of relationship drama. On the 12th, Mercury's now making that trine to Neptune. Because Mercury's lagging behind Venus, Mercury is making the same connections. They happen to be in the same time. Both planets happen to be in Scorpio. So Mercury's lagging behind and making us a lot of the same alignments as Venus. So we're going to feel like we have deja vu, but in the Mercury sense when it comes down to some of these transits that are popping up. This is where we were seeing the psychic energy, and this is where we were seeing the imagination and confusion. Because even though this is a harmonious alignment, it's still Mercury mixing with Neptune, so there might be some moments where we're not necessarily clear. There's also another thing going on with Mercury on the 13th that may create comprehension issues, so we might not feel as clear-minded as we normally do through this weekend. However, these are fun alignments, particularly the Mercury trine Neptune and something else that we have going on the 13th that's not even related to Mercury. But because of this transit, we're going to be craving some spiritual things. And now that we're out of eclipse season, for those of us who generally don't like touching spiritual things or dealing with crystals or anything like that, more or less it's because of the eclipse warnings. If you listen to me, you know that I warn during eclipses not to do a lot of the reflective stuff, not to do any journaling, not to do anything with your crystals, don't bring your crystals outside, manifesting and things like that. So this will be a day where we'll be able to really go back to them and feel more comfortable, if anything. So this could be a day of just exploring crystal shops. This could be a day of doing some manifestation work. This could be a day of journaling. This could be a day of doing some spiritual baths. It's a nice dose of new age overload. Communication wise, we could be having deep talks with people that are on a very connective level, on a soul level, on a spiritual level. So it could be almost kind of a meeting of the minds, or in a lot of ways with this alignment, sometimes it has this telepathic sort of thing. It has a mind reading sort of vibe to it. So you could be picking up on what someone else is feeling. You could be picking up on thoughts and vice versa, or, you know, you and whoever else is finishing each other's sentences. Our gut instincts will definitely be sharp. They'll be on fire. Despite the confusion stuff, I mean, that's going to happen. There's a little bit of fog that's going to be going on with this energy in itself, but there are definitely some moments of clarity when it comes down to your psychic abilities. Also, this could be a day of intuitive downloads. This could be a day of prophetic dreams or having very vivid dreams that feel as though they have some importance. So definitely whenever you wake up, journal them down so that way you're remembering them. The next day on the 13th, Venus is going to make a sextile with Pluto, and this is what I meant about the 13th having a nice alignment that's going to follow this Mercury transit. Venus sextile Pluto is one of those alignments that's amazing for relationships. Especially if you're looking for something deep, especially if you're looking for something that's going to have a long-lasting effect to it in terms of commitment, in terms of just being with someone that you feel like you're on the same wavelength with, being with someone that you feel like you connect with on a soul level, on a deep level. At least with some of the Venus alignments, with the exception of the Mars alignment, most of them are really harmonious. Obviously, one of them has a lot to do with self-worth issues and blind spots, but this one in particular has a lot to do with things going right and creating something solid for your love life overall. And not just with love life, finances as well. This is great for creating solid ground when it comes down to your finances. So you're able to put your focus on the right areas that you need to be in terms of your career and what's going to attract funds to you, what's going to attract the right types of financial opportunities to yourself. And with this, speaking of attraction, this is great for being magnetic. So drawing people to you will be easy if you're single. If you're already in a romantic relationship, this could be a date where you guys are magnetized to one another and it's resulting in intimacy that's off the charts. Overall, this is a very passionate energy and can lead to intense, passionate exchanges. And overall, the 13th is a very passionate day. Mercury's making a quincunx with Mars, and I say passionate because this could have a lot to do with communicating in a very passionate way, and sometimes not realizing how passionately you're speaking. Again, because this is a quincunx, there can be blind spots, so you may be unaware that the way you're speaking, your vocal pattern might be throwing other people off because it's coming off more assertive or even aggressive, and it's causing other people to feel irritated. It's causing a different reaction than you're expecting. It may be more combative than normal. It may be an issue of just being too blunt. You know, sometimes there is too blunt, and sometimes, you know, I'm all for honesty. I'm always all for honesty, but there's a limit to how honest someone can be. And sometimes that honesty isn't even coming from a place of honesty. Sometimes it's coming from a place of being mean. Dealing with the types of people that like to roast others to make themselves feel better and confident. So a lot of that could be going on in this energy. Being blunt tends to backfire in this energy. So in a lot of ways, if you are coming across rude or overly aggressive in some sort of way, it may give that reaction that you're not expecting. And then there you go, you got yourself a fight. But in a lot of ways, this is also meant to bring to your awareness areas where you need to work on the way you speak to others and yourself, because this could have a lot to do with internal dialogue as well. And we will see this alignment come back around twice. It'll come back around December 15th and January 20th. The reason why we're getting this particular quincunx twice is Mercury will be retrograde in Capricorn. So Mercury will, by the time it gets to Capricorn, we'll have this other quincunx that's going on with Mars. And then once Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn, it'll go back over this point as Mars is actually direct. So it's an interesting situation. Watch out for this one. Jot it down because it is going to come back up a couple of times. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.